How can I improve my English? Part 1. My beginning. Hello, my name is Helen. I am 19 years old, and I come from a small town. When I was a little girl, I always wanted to travel and meet new people. But I had one big problem: I could not speak English. Many of my favorite songs and movies were in English, and I did not understand them. At school, English was my most difficult subject. I was afraid to speak, and I often made mistakes. Sometimes my classmates laughed, and I felt shy. Still, in my heart, I wanted to get better. I dreamed about visiting London, New York, or Sydney one day. I knew I needed English for that dream. When I was 14, my teacher gave me good advice. She said, "Helen, do not be afraid of mistakes. Mistakes are your friends. They help you learn." At first, I did not believe her. I wanted to be perfect, and I hated errors. But slowly, I tried to listen. I started to write small sentences every day. For example, I wrote, "Today I am happy," or, "I like my dog." My sentences were very simple, but they were my own words. This made me feel a little proud. I thought, maybe I can really do this. That was the first step in my journey. At home, my parents did not speak English, so I needed to study alone. I used my old phone to watch videos with subtitles. Sometimes I watched the same video 10 times. I listened carefully, and I repeated the words. At first, it was very hard. I could only understand 1 or 2 words. But I did not stop. I said to myself, "Helen, you must be patient." Every day, I gave myself 10 minutes to practice. Then it became 20 minutes. After some months, I could understand more. It was not magic. It was slow, but it was real progress. One funny memory is from my first English conversation online. I found a language partner on an app. His name was Tom, and he was from England. I was very nervous before the call. My hands were cold, and my voice was shaking. I only said, "Hello, my name Helen," and then I forgot the rest. Tom smiled and spoke slowly. He said, "It is okay. Take your time." We talked for 5 minutes, but I felt like it was 1 hour. When the call ended, I was so happy. I thought, wow, I spoke English with a real person. That small talk gave me big courage. Later, I made a rule for myself. I must use English every day in some way. It could be reading, listening, writing, or speaking. Some days I was tired, and I wanted to stop. But I remembered my dream, and I continued. My progress was not fast, but it was steady. I started to understand English songs better. I even tried to write small diary notes in English. Sometimes my grammar was wrong, but I didn't care. I just wanted to keep moving forward. This way, English became part of my daily life, like brushing my teeth or eating breakfast. Now, when I look back, I see that the beginning was the hardest part. I had fear, I had doubts, and I often felt weak. But I also had a small light inside me. That light was my dream. If you want to improve your English too, remember my story. Start small, but start today. Do not wait for tomorrow. Even if you only write 1 sentence or learn 1 new word, it is a victory. Be kind to yourself, and do not give up. Your journey can begin now, just like mine did when I was 14. Part 2: Learning from mistakes. When I think about my school years, I remember many mistakes I made in English class. Sometimes I forgot very easy words, like chair or blue. Other times, I mixed up grammar rules and said something wrong. My classmates laughed, and I felt so embarrassed. I even thought, maybe I am not smart enough to learn a new language. But later, I understood something important. Mistakes are not a sign of weakness. Mistakes are part of the process. Each mistake shows me what I do not know yet, and then I can fix it. Without mistakes, I would never grow. One day in class, the teacher asked me to read a text aloud. My hands were shaking, and I made many pronunciation errors. After class, I almost cried. But the teacher smiled and said, "Helen, you are brave. You spoke even when you were afraid. This is progress." Her words stayed in my mind. I realized that being brave is more important than being perfect. If I only wait for perfection, I will never speak. But if I try, even with mistakes, I can slowly become better. From that day, I decided not to hide my voice anymore. Another problem I had was with vocabulary. I studied new words, but I often forgot them very quickly. For example, I learned the word bicycle one week, but the next week I could not remember it. This made me frustrated. Then I discovered a simple trick: use the words in real life. When I learned bicycle, I wrote, "My bicycle is old." When I learned apple, I said, "I eat an apple every day." By putting the new words into sentences about my own life, I remembered them longer. It felt like I was building small bridges in my memory. There was also a time when I compared myself to other students. Some of them spoke better English, and I felt jealous. I thought, why can they do it, but not me? This thinking made me sad and slow. One evening, I told my mother about it. She said, "Helen, every flower has its own time to bloom. Do not compare. Focus on your own path." Her words gave me peace. I understood that learning is not a race. Everyone has different speed, and that is okay. When I stopped comparing, I felt lighter, and I could focus better. Sometimes I also learned from funny mistakes. One time, I wanted to say, "I am hungry," but I said, "I am angry." My friends laughed so much, and I was confused. Later, the teacher explained the difference. I never forgot those two words again. Another time, I said, "I have 15 years, instead of, "I am 15 years old." People still understood me, but it was not correct. These small accidents were embarrassing in the moment, but they became strong lessons. Each mistake made me remember the correct way more clearly. Looking back now, I see that my mistakes were not failures. They were teachers in disguise. If I gave up after each mistake, I would never have learned anything. Instead, I chose to continue. Slowly, I grew stronger, like a tree with deep roots. My advice for you is simple: do not fear mistakes. Welcome them, laugh at them, and learn from them. Every mistake you make today is a step toward better English tomorrow. This truth has guided me since my school years, and it can guide you too. Part 3: Creative Ways to Practice. After I learned not to fear mistakes, I wanted to find more ways to practice English. In school, I had only a few hours of lessons each week. That was not enough. I needed English to be part of my everyday life. I asked myself, how can I practice when I am alone at home? Slowly, I started to find creative ideas. Some were very simple, but they worked well for me. I discovered that learning a language is not only about books. It is also about fun, curiosity, and imagination. One of my favorite methods was talking to myself in English. At first, it felt strange, but it helped me a lot. I stood in front of the mirror and said things like, "Hello, my name is Helen. Today I feel happy." Sometimes I described what I was doing, like, "I am cooking rice," or, "I am cleaning my room." This practice made me more comfortable with speaking. Even if no one answered, I still heard my own voice in English. It was like building confidence step by step. Another creative way was music. I loved listening to English songs, but before I only enjoyed the sound. Now, I started to listen more carefully. I looked up the lyrics and tried to sing along. Of course, my voice was not perfect, and I sometimes pronounced the words wrong. But it was fun, and I learned many new expressions. I even made a little game. I paused the song and tried to guess the next word. This made my brain more active. Music gave me energy, and it made learning feel less like homework. I also used movies and TV shows. At first, I watched with subtitles in my own language. Later, I changed to English subtitles. Finally, I tried watching without any subtitles at all. It was difficult, but I trained my ears. I learned how native speakers use intonation and rhythm. Sometimes I repeated short scenes and acted them out like an actress. This was very funny, but it gave me better pronunciation. I remember repeating one line from a movie again and again until I could say it naturally. It was like a private drama class in my living room. Writing was another creative tool. I kept a diary in English. Every night, I wrote 3 or 4 sentences about my day. For example, I studied for 1 hour. I met my friend. We ate ice cream. These sentences were simple, but they were mine. Later, I tried to write short stories with my imagination. I wrote about a girl who wanted to fly, or a cat who learned to dance. These little stories made me smile, and they gave me new vocabulary. Writing helped me to think in English, not only translate from my language. The last method I loved was games. I downloaded English word games on my phone. I also played online games where people chatted in English. At first, I only wrote small messages like, "Hi, how are you?" or "Good job." But slowly, I wrote longer messages. The game made me forget my fear, because I was focused on winning and having fun. Without stress, the words came more easily. That is why I believe practice should not only be serious study. If you enjoy it, you will keep going. And if you keep going, you will improve. Part 4: My first trip abroad. When I was 17, I had the chance to travel abroad for the first time. It was a school exchange program, and the destination was London. I was very excited, but also very nervous. I thought, what if I cannot understand anyone? What if they laugh at my English? Still, I decided to go, because this was my dream since childhood. I packed my small suitcase, hugged my family, and took the plane. On the flight, I repeated simple phrases in my head, like, "Excuse me, can you help me?" and "Where is the station?" When I arrived in London, everything felt new and big. The people walked fast, the streets were crowded, and the signs were all in English. At first, I was shy to speak. But then I needed to buy a train ticket. I went to the counter and said, "1 ticket, please." The man asked me something very quickly, and I did not understand. My heart started to beat fast, but I smiled and said, "Sorry, can you speak slowly?" He repeated, and this time I understood. It was a small success, but it gave me courage. I realized people are kind if you ask for help. During my stay, I lived with a host family. They spoke only English, and I had to communicate with them every day. At breakfast, they asked, "How did you sleep?" or "What will you do today?" At first, my answers were short, like, "Good," or "I don't know." But slowly, I learned to make longer sentences. I said things like, "I slept well, but I had a funny dream," or "Today I will visit the museum." My host mother smiled and corrected me gently. Living with them was like a real classroom, but warmer and friendlier. One special memory was my visit to the British Museum. There were so many beautiful objects, and I wanted to ask questions. I went to a guide and said, "Can you tell me about this statue?" The guide explained slowly, and I listened carefully. I even asked another question after that. I was proud, because in my country I would never have dared to speak so much in English. In London, I had no choice but to try. Every time I spoke, even if it was not perfect, I felt stronger inside. I also met new friends from other countries. Some were from Spain, Italy, and Japan. English was the only language we all knew a little. We used it to play games, to share food, and to laugh together. Our grammar was not always correct, but our hearts understood each other. This showed me that English is not only about rules. It is about connection. With English, I could talk to people from around the world. That feeling was amazing, and it motivated me to study even more. When the trip ended, I felt sad to leave, but also proud of myself. I had survived in a new country with my English. I was not perfect, but I was brave. On the plane back home, I wrote in my diary, "I can really use English in the real world." That trip changed me. It showed me that English is not just a subject in school. It is a key to new places, new people, and new experiences. If you ever get a chance to travel, even for a short time, take it. It will teach you more than many hours in a classroom. Part 5: Keeping my motivation. After I came back from London, many people asked me about my trip. My family wanted to know everything I saw, and my friends wanted to hear about my new host family. I was happy to tell my story, but inside I had a small worry. I thought, what if I lose my English again? What if I forget all the words I learned? I knew that if I wanted to keep improving, I needed to continue practicing every day. I promised myself that London would not be the end of my journey. It would only be the beginning. At first, I felt very motivated. I listened to English songs on the bus, I wrote in my diary every night, and I watched movies without subtitles. But after some weeks, I became a little lazy. I had school exams, family duties, and sometimes I was too tired. My practice time became shorter. One day, I realized I had not spoken English for a whole week. I felt sad and guilty. I remembered how alive I felt in London when I spoke English. I told myself, "Helen, you must find a way to keep going." So I made a simple plan. I decided to study at least 15 minutes every day, no matter how busy I was. Sometimes I read a short article, sometimes I listened to a podcast, and sometimes I practiced writing. On days when I was very tired, I just learned one new word. The rule was clear: never skip a day. This small routine helped me more than long hours once a week. It became a habit, like brushing my teeth. Even when I had little time, I could still touch English. That way, it stayed alive in my mind. To keep my motivation strong, I also gave myself small goals. For example, I said, "This month I will learn 50 new words," or, "This week I will write one short story." When I reached my goal, I felt proud, and I gave myself a little reward. Sometimes it was chocolate, sometimes a new notebook. These small rewards made me smile, and they pushed me to continue. I learned that big dreams need small steps. If you only look at the big mountain, you may feel afraid. But if you take one step at a time, you will slowly reach the top. Another way I kept my motivation was by connecting with other learners. I joined an online group where people from different countries practiced English together. We had video calls, and we played games in English. Sometimes we shared our problems and encouraged each other. Knowing that I was not alone gave me energy. When I saw my friends trying hard, I wanted to try hard too. Together we grew, and together we celebrated our progress. Community is very powerful when you are learning something difficult. Looking back now, I see that motivation is like a fire. If you don't feed it, it becomes weak. If you give it wood, it grows stronger and warmer. For me, the wood was my daily routine, my small goals, and my friends. They kept my fire alive. If you want to keep learning English, find your own wood. It can be music, books, friends, or even travel. Whatever keeps your heart excited will keep your English alive too. Do not wait for big moments. Practice a little every day, and your fire will never die. Part 6: Dreams and Advice. Now, I am almost 20 years old, and I feel much more confident in English. I can read books, watch movies, and speak with people from different countries. I still make mistakes, but they no longer scare me. I see them as steps to learning. My English journey has changed my life. I can dream bigger dreams, because I know language is a key. With English, I can travel, study, and even work in another country. It is like a bridge to new opportunities and experiences. One of my biggest dreams is to study at a university abroad. I want to meet students from all over the world and learn different cultures. English is necessary for that, and my daily practice helps me move closer to my goal. I also want to travel to countries where English is spoken, not only as a tourist but to make friends and discover local life. I feel more independent because I can communicate in English. This makes me happy and proud. Dreams become real when you have the tools to reach them. I also see that learning English has opened doors to other skills. I started reading news online in English, and this helps me learn about the world. I watch educational videos and try new hobbies. I can talk with people about music, movies, or science. English gives me freedom to explore knowledge. I never imagined I would feel this independent when I was a little girl afraid of mistakes in school. This shows me that learning a language is not only about speaking. It changes the way you see life. If you want to improve your English, I have some advice from my experience. First, do not be afraid to make mistakes. They are your teachers. Second, practice every day, even for a short time. Third, find ways to make learning fun, like songs, movies, games, or diaries. Fourth, set small goals and celebrate every success. Fifth, surround yourself with English, even if you are at home. Little steps every day become big steps after some months. Most important, never give up, even when it feels difficult. Remember, everyone can learn English if they are patient and consistent. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to try, again and again. Speak to yourself, speak to friends, or speak to strangers if you have a chance. Listen, read, write, and enjoy the process. Every little effort counts. My journey was not easy, but it was worth it. And yours can be too. Start today, keep going tomorrow, and trust yourself. Finally, I want to say thank you to everyone reading my story. I hope it gives you hope and courage. Learning English is not only about grammar or vocabulary, it is about dreams, courage, and discovery. I believe in you. Remember my journey, and remember your own potential. Keep learning, keep speaking, and enjoy every moment. One day, you will look back and smile, just like I do now. Your English journey is your adventure, so begin it, live it, and never stop.